Welcome to Bad Movie Beatdown, and today we kick off a month covering everyone's favourite tax evader, Wesley Snipes. Yep, we've covered Stallone and Seagal, so let's cover the final S-lettered action star in time for the release of The Expendables 2. Okay, Snipes isn't in that series, but it's all about the older generation of action stars, and that's precisely what I'm recalling too. Well, they're less glorious days anyway. Snipes was less defined by his action roles than, say, Seagal or Stallone were, and his CV actually contains a lot of dramatic work, which I think I should cover during this retrospective. Wesley Snipes was known for his lightning-fast kicks and moves, matching it with a solid charisma that made him one of the biggest stars of the early 90s, including hits like Passenger 57, Demolition Man, and Blade. More on that one later. Oh, and the odd bomb like the previously reviewed Money Train. Enter 1997's One Night Stand, one of Snipes' biggest departures. It's based on a script originally written by Joe Esterhazy, who was a shit-hot writer that got huge amounts of money for scripts with generally lurid and sexual premises. He's the guy who gave us Showgirls, Basic Instinct, and Jade, which should give you an idea of what he's like. Esterhazy's screenplay was a seemingly LaRonde-inspired set of scenes with interconnected one-night stands, which sounds more like the basis of a good play than a film. Enter director Mike Figgis, who had previously come off the Oscar-winning Leaving Las Vegas and chose the film as his follow-up, and so extensively rewrote the script that Esterhazy refused to accept even a writer's credit. So in actuality, this is very much Figgis's baby, having wrote, directed, and even providing the score for the film. And what better way to follow up the dilemma with a look at the other side of the infidelity coin? Let's take a look at One Night Stand. And it takes less than 30 seconds to make a grave misstep.
Hi, I'm Max. I'm 35 and I have 2 children and a very beautiful wife.
Hiya Max, good for you! This isn't a massively stilted and annoying way to introduce the main character at all!
I work in the commercial industry. Well, advertising industry. I'm a commercial director. Successful. I'm not saying I'm really successful. My commercials win awards in Europe.
Ah, so you're a pretentious, egocentric asshole? Man, I'm liking you already! He goes on about how he's going to meet his friend Charlie whilst he's in New York.
Charlie is gay. Well, I'm not gay. Charlie is gay.
Considering that you're married and have 2 kids, I don't think you need to stress to us that you're not gay. Unless you want to stress it to us.
Man, I tell you, we haven't seen each other in 5 years.
And a nice awkward fade there, because obviously Wesley Snipes couldn't get through this in one take.
That was at the time when I was considered the most promising director in the Lower East Side.
Blowing your own trumpet again, Mr. Arrogance? Would you like to remind us how your ads win awards in Europe again?
Anyway, I still consider him my best friend. 5 years ago, we had a big fight and over a work thing, and we haven't spoken since.
If you haven't spoken to each other in 5 years, I don't think you're best friends.
He didn't even call me to tell me that he was sick. His lover calls me.
And clearly he doesn't consider you to be either. Seriously, what is going on with this opening? It's just so damn clumsy. It's show, don't tell, and especially don't have the main character spend 2 minutes talking into the camera telling us. It doesn't make him relatable. He's not exactly an everyman. He's a big shot advertising director, and last I checked, I don't know many of those. I know a porn director, but that's entirely different. Charlie, played by Robert Downey Jr., is also a director, as we learn in a clearly trying to be arty title sequence to stress how adult and intelligent this all is. And he's recently discovered that he's HIV positive.
Kevin is an alarmist, by the way. Well, everything's fine. Nothing's happened yet. Nothing may happen.
Oh yes it will, because to quote another Joe Esterhazy movie, everyone's got AIDS and shit.
Still in the closet?
Are you out or in?
When you get the point.
What are you hanging around me for all these years? You just could get close to the source.
Ever, never, ever.
Ever, never, never.
That's right. I am caught into the nappy dugout and I am staying there.
You don't have to be so defensive, like homophobic is what we would call that right now.
Because, you know, if you hang around with gay people, you must be gay by association, right? Although, that being said, Charlie brings up an interesting point about how defensive Max is that he's not gay. Anyway, we see Max having a meeting with his fellow commercial types, which is meant to stress how contemporary and metropolitan this whole movie and its setting is, with lots of fast, blurry editing, and shots all set to a gently irritating jazz score. If you listen carefully, I think you can hear Von Burgundy on the jazz flute there. It's also here where Max first catches a glimpse of Natasha Kinski's Karen, whom he seems far more interested in than the conversation.
Oh, Max, look, there's Christian Slater.
Oh, look over there! There's a guy who's going to have even less of a career than you do! We also have this moment where Max turns down the obvious hints a female associate is trying to make by getting into his hotel room. Look, Max doesn't just sleep with anybody. He may have a one-night stand later, but he's not an asshole. The following morning, when Max and his associates are meant to be booking out the hotel, traffic is really busy because of some UN celebration. Either way, whilst Max is waiting for his co-workers, he gets another chance to pretend that he's not eyeing up Karen, and clearly she's interested in him too.
You have a black heart. I think maybe you can.
Oh shit. You have a black heart? Who speaks like that? I think the common phrase is your pen is leaking, mate.
That's close.
Well, that's awfully convenient. So whilst his associates are pissing about below, Karen and Max take a ride up to her hotel room so he can change shirts. It turns out that Karen is going to a concert, but her best friend has had to drop out.
What was the concert?
Oh, heavy stuff, string quartets.
The Juilliard Quartet. Wow, I'm psychic.
You like the Juilliard?
Oh, brilliant, brilliant. I actually tried to buy some tickets, but they were already sold out. I'm jealous. You'll still go though, right?
So he likes the quartet, wanted to get tickets, and her friend just dropped out? Wow, that is awfully convenient. So Max grabs a taxi from Fidel Castro here so he can catch up to the rest of his party, but wouldn't you know it, that parade ends up blocking the street, so he ends up missing his flight and staying an extra night. So of course he decides to take Karen up on that extra ticket of hers. And it's around here the movie begins to lose me. See, what we had was an extremely contrived set of circumstances, call it fate if you will, that were bringing these two lovers together, but that's not the case here. By deliberately going to this performance, it is very clear that he's chasing her, so my future sympathy for this guy is not exactly high at this moment. The movie's slow pacing then drops dead as we watch past the performance for several minutes, which only serves to illustrate how affluent and sophisticated this movie, and by extension, the audience is. I have to say, if there's one thing that puts my nose out of joint real fast, it's pretension, and this movie's weighed down with it like concrete around the ankles. There is an interesting moment in this scene where we get a flashback of Charlie as Max watches the performance before it fades onto Karen. Now, I interpreted this as being that Max, closeted but somewhat attracted to Charlie, sees those same qualities in Karen, and that's what attracts him to her. I don't know if my reading's right, but it's certainly more than the movie gives us, which is, ooh, pretty blonde! But taking up her offer for the performance tickets is at least justifiable, so long as he keeps it platonic. Yep, that's why he sits her down at a table in a bar for a bit of face-to-face. Or for that matter, try justifying this.
So did you check into another hotel?
He could have just booked a hotel room, stayed there for the night, and none of this would have happened. But you know why he hasn't booked another hotel room? Because someone's going to be staying in her pants tonight. Now, I know some of you are probably saying I'm being a bit judging or blaming the man. Ooh, men. But I'm not saying he should stick his penis in a guillotine, and it's true, it takes two to tango, and there's a few hints that she's playing the same game. Here's the thing though, we experience this morality play through Max, and we end up judging him most because we know him better. Of course, we know him better as an arrogant ass, so that makes it even easier. During their night together, the pair end up being attacked by some muggers holding them at knife point, which may have been added so that Snipes gets at least one scene where he kicks people's asses as he fights off the muggers and scares them away. That scene there had more action in it than several of Wesley Snipes' direct-to-video movies. Trust me, I know all too well. But I'm guessing part of the purpose of this scene is to try and take some of the blame off Max and try to explain what happens later as partly being driven by their exhilaration.
I feel my Heart's beating real fast still.
Do you want to go to bed? I mean...
Sigmund Freud would be proud. So, up to her hotel room it is, where they both start smoking, which is an important symbol in itself. See, Max is trying to quit, or was anyway, but he joins her smoking in this room, showing he's being himself. This also gives the subtle implication that smoking is cool and romantic. And this is the reason why movies today seem to have a smoking ban. And they're soon hopping into bed. Separate beds to be precise, because they are both married. But of course you know that isn't gonna last very long. Karen starts apparently having nightmares about the mugging, so Max moves over to comfort her. You know, with his hands. And, his tongue. And yes, eventually, with his penis. I could be mistaken here, but, I think they're gonna do it. And really, for a movie called One Night Stand, you'd think they'd make the titular event sexy or passionate. But no, what Figures decides to do is to keep fading to black. And fading to black, and fading to black. And I think this shot of a plane in the sky might be symbolising Max coming. I could be wrong there. The sex scene is edited in a way that removes any energy from it, and actually dislocates us from the scene. And it removes any chemistry between the two leads as well. I mean, look at the DVD box. It's sold on this scene. Snipes and Kinski are red hot. Simmer at a low temperature, more like. So Max flies back to LA to his wife Mimi, played by Ming-na, and I assume the fact that we only meet the wife after we've seen Max cheat on her is meant to colour how we see their relationship. Personally, I'm more distracted by stuff like this.
What is that smell? What is that?
No. Oh, that's that cologne I got from the plane.
Oh.
You've gotta be shitting me! He just cheated on his wife and had a long haul flight, yet apparently never thought of getting in the shower to get the lady stink off him? He's not just a pretentious prick, he's also an imbecile. And Max seems like the kind of guy who has everything. Beautiful house, loving wife, 2 kids. By the way, don't get used to them, they're only in this one scene. Considering what happens later in the movie, I think they want us to forget that kids are involved in the middle of this. Oh, and Max also has a dog.
I just couldn't stop thinking about New York and how violent it is. And I had this image of you being mugged.
Hey.
Oscar, get out of there. What? What is it? What do you smell on Daddy, huh? What do you smell on Daddy, huh?
Okay, how stupid are you, lady? He might as well be wearing a t-shirt that says, I cheated on you. Woof, woof, I can smell over here, mummy.
Look, maybe
you're just making
I should just go upstairs and just take a shower, huh?
Duh, you think?
Motorcade came, motorcade behind the tinted window. Over there,
The dog knows. And the bear too.
Oscar, out. Maybe he's trying to tell me something. Maybe he smells another bitch on you.
You're gonna hate me.
I know what you're gonna tell me. You've been smoking, haven't you? Oscar's not stupid, Max.
Clearly the dog is smarter than you are. Can't you take a hint or, 5? We discover that Max and Mimi's lives aren't as perfect as they appear, as one look at their sex lives proves that only one side is actually getting anything out of it. If you have friends or relatives in the next room, you might want to turn down the sound a minute. Don't say I didn't warn you.
Oh! Oh! Oh!
Well, you're gonna wake the kids.
Oh, fuck the kids, Max! I'm coming! Oh, yeah!
Holy shit! Mount Vesuvius made less noise erupting than this woman!
Jesus. What'd you do last night? Is that a bruise?
It's ink, blood for my pet.
Oh.
Okay.
You've got a black heart.
Oh, so that was what that line was building towards. It's still stupid. Also, symbolism! We also see Max as his job. Thomas Hayden Church, before he was big, plays Snipes' boss, and John Ratzenberger is a client who represents a pickle company. Max is supposed to be directing an ad for them, but Mr. My Commercials Win Awards in Europe deliberately blows off the deal.
I mean, speaking frankly, I'd rather be caught dead than put that shit on my reel. I mean, did we put this hip little show together so that I can put the green peen on screen? I don't think so. And if it's just about the fucking numbers, then fine, you go ahead. You do that. I'm out of here. What you should be doing, you should be trying to keep accounts like the money account. Now see, that's impressive.
Oh, so he's not just a massive prick, he's a prick with a superiority complex. And he gets his way as we next see him directing an Armani promo, which I'm sure is sufficiently cool enough for this tosser. Incidentally, you'll probably be interested to hear that Snipes is actually wearing Armani clothing through the film. And I don't normally like to do this, but we'll be right back after these messages. There is a point to this, I promise you.
Next year was a tough one.
See? Didn't know we were back, did you? That ad break there was to prove exactly my point. Seriously? Putting the expository narration over an Armani ad? How much are they paying you to shill their product in the middle of the damn movie? Not to mention that yet again, Snipes is nakedly expositing information, yet he never becomes a full-blown narrator, so it just seems sloppy. It's ingenious really when you think about it. Have your main character be an ad man so you can get away with naked product placement throughout the film. Brilliant! The ad company is throwing a party for everyone, where it turns out Max's boss is a massive homophobe.
I was saying that, quite frankly, I don't understand the gay thing, you know? I mean, I know we're all supposed to be so liberal out here in California and all, but, you know, men are not natural, grinding away on each other, but women, on the other hand, I think are natural.
And you know what would happen if someone did this in real life? Everyone would give him the death glare until he left the room. Of course, he's being made into an obvious straw man so that Max, smoking weed, can look like a good guy as opposed to just being sanctimonious.
Television is the worst fucking thing that has ever happened to America. You want to know what television really is?
It's your paycheck.
Television
What is it?
is a frontal lobotomy.
Yes.
Let's hear it for Joseph Lennon's right-hand man over there. Dope-smoking man kissing Max. Hey, Tambourine Man, the 60s are over.
You know what, Don? Fuck you.
Well.
There's nothing more precious than a two-faced phony that thinks he's better than the other two-faced phonies in the room. Bravo, Max, for sticking it to the man. Good luck finding a job tomorrow. And being married to someone who is like this is clearly taking its toll on Max and Mimi's relationship. But the thing is, I don't think we're meant to dislike Max. There are occasionally moments where he's actually a decent guy, but it never really makes up for the many scenes where he's clearly behaving badly. Now, you could say this is making his character somewhat complex, but I think this actually marks a film that has no idea what its opinion on the subject matter is and just goes for both of them. A year later and we're back in New York, where inevitably Charlie is in the hospital slowly dying from AIDS. Also, it may surprise you to hear this, but Kyle Maclachlan actually plays a normal person for a change.
Max, it's Vernon, Charlie's brother.
Vernon.
What?
Hi, how you doing?
All right. I was trying to think of the last time I saw you. I must have...
Okay. If they know each other, why did he just introduce himself as Charlie's brother? Surely he would know that, besides, you know, for the audience. Now, this is the part of the film that is hardest to cover for a number of reasons. There is nothing inherently wrong with these scenes in the hospital that dominate much of the remaining running time. In fact, as standalone scenes, I actually think they're brilliantly done, and I think Robert Downey Jr.'s performance is especially fantastic in them, really selling the drama. Obviously, there's nothing funny about a guy slowly dying from AIDS, so excuse me if I glance over most of this stuff. For the most part, anyway. Yes, this was the post-Philadelphia era where movies could actually start trying to tackle that rather nasty subject of HIV and AIDS, so there was a sudden proliferation of them in the mainstream era around the mid to late 90s. Now, there's nothing wrong with covering the issue, but I think doing it in this film is a major misstep. I think it shows a major disconnect with what the intention of the film is. What this film is being sold on is the examination of adultery and its consequences. Granted, that part of the film is stupid, but that's what audiences have come to see. And that's a pretty big topic to discuss in the first place. The marketing for this film left out this subplot, and it's very easy to see why. It feels like you're watching a completely different movie. It shows that Figgis isn't really interested in the main plotline, and what he's actually actually done is let the AIDS subplot overwhelm the rest of the film, because that's clearly the part he most wanted to examine. Basically, if you want to make Philadelphia 2, go make Philadelphia 2. Don't bait and switch your premise, because it just leaves everyone feeling shortchanged. Later, Charlie holds a party in his hospital room where the mother of all coincidences happens.
Oh, listen, I'd like you to meet my wife.
There you go.
Hi.
What are the bloody odds of that? New York City, millions upon millions of people, and the one woman that he sleeps with is his best friend's sister-in-law? Any pretense of this movie being in any way realistic has gone officially out the window. Then again, on his birthday, Charlie's smoking a giant spliff in his hospital bed, which I'm pretty sure doesn't happen in hospitals much either. So we get the inevitable awkward moment where Mimi and Karen meet each other, including a painful sushi dinner scene where Mimi and Vernon are pretty much the only ones talking. And the movie continues like this for a little bit.
He told me you came to visit him last year, and I realized it was that same time.
Yeah, same time.
Yeah, it's funny how coincidental this whole film is. They agree to go on pretending like nothing happened. Good decision. They then immediately defy that by kissing right in full view of Charlie, because that couldn't possibly go wrong. For goodness sake, he may be ill, but you don't snog his brother's wife directly in front of him, you nimrods. Understandably, Charlie is pretty freaking confused right about now, and Max has to explain the whole saga to him, asking him what he should do. Charlie responds that Max needs to get his shit together. Thank you, the one character in the movie I actually like is speaking sense. Just tell them, because things really couldn't get any worse than they are right now anyway, for both you and the movie. So Charlie passes on, and the post-death wishes, you guessed it, another party! This is the most happening funeral ever, and perhaps it's now a time for Max to grow a pair and confess to what he did. Or he could just kiss Karen again and have her inexplicably collapse for seemingly no real reason. Hell, even the ghost of Charlie briefly appears, telling him to man up and do something. And what does he do? He goes after Karen again! For crying out loud! Use your head, not your scrotum. That's exactly how you end up here in the first place. But nope, Karen and Max both go out into the garden and start to do the nasty a second time in one of the sheds when something bloody outrageous happens.
I think there's some...
What was that shit? Really, movie? You're pulling that nonsense? It is the complete coward's way out ending because it means that Max doesn't have to take responsibility because she was cheating too. And if you're wondering why I did this movie, there's your answer, folks. This dumb twist ending is the icing on the cake. So we cut to exactly a year later, where we see our cheaters four-way having yet another sushi dinner. The two girls are actually talking about the internet, in case you forgot this is 1997 or so, only to reveal that actually the lovers have swapped around, and now Max and Karen are properly together, as are Mimi and Vernon, which is oddly presented like it's some sort of twist. So that basically means the fallout was completely clean and oh bullshit. I'm sorry, but this is a Hollywood ending that gives the movie a token happy ending that completely cops out of all the tough edges of the main theme. Damn it, One Night Stand, you are infuriating. This drama is completely confused. The issue of infidelity is a tricky subject, and the treatment here doesn't do it justice. The performances are excellent, especially Robert Downey Jr., but the characters are largely unlikable, and the plot is ludicrously convoluted. I really don't get who this was supposed to be aimed at. It's not lurid and exploitative like you might first think, but it doesn't really satisfy as a mature drama because it constantly shies away from making tough decisions or are actually having a viewpoint. This culminates in a preposterous cop-out twist that is absolutely rage-inducing. The AIDS scenes are absolutely harrowing, but they deserve a better, different movie that isn't using the topic to make itself feel more socially important. I also found the directing style irritating and aggravatingly pretentious. The film is basically a time capsule of 90s filmmaking, both for better and for worse. Hopefully you enjoyed me taking down something a little bit different from my normal fare, but if you didn't, we're back to rubbish action movies next week. I'm Matthew Buck, beating down bad movies everywhere.